So I've talked many times about how excited I am for Jordan Peele's next film that he's directing titled Nope. And the first trailer absolutely blew me away. It didn't give much away, I might add. It left things up to speculation, whether it was about aliens or not. I think most people could kind of piece the puzzle together and figure out that, oh, okay, it is aliens. And there was a lot of speculation that the title itself, Nope, is an actual acronym for Not of Planet Earth. And the final trailer has been released for this film, and it's confirmed. The trailer flat out shows a very traditional looking UFO, and they mention aliens quite a few times in the trailer, so it's confirmed. It's aliens. That's what we're dealing with here in this film. And I really liked how this new trailer took a very different approach to what the first trailer did. The first trailer was setting the mood, setting the tension. But this trailer, however, brought a lot more levity, a lot more humor to it. We see that Daniel Kaluuya's character and Keke Palmer, their brother and sister, and they live at this ranch that's in California, and they sort of run this family business. They run this ranch, and the horses at the ranch are used in like films and stuff like that. So they see, living on this ranch, that there's this sort of figure in the sky, and they're like, what is that? Is it an alien? And then they decide, you know what? Even if it is an alien, let's spend some money. Let's get some recording equipment. Let's hook up some cameras around our house. Let's try and make a little bit of bread off this. Make a little bit of money off this. Get the Oscar shot, I think is what Keke Palmer's character says in the trailer. So they hire the dude from, I think it's Fry's. I've never seen that store here in Canada, so I think that might just be something in the U.S. It's basically like a tech store. And they hire this guy to sort of implant, cameras around the property to, catch this UFO up in the sky. And oh my God, I am just so fucking excited for this film. I think it can be better than Get Out and Us. Obviously, the cast is off the wall. I mean, we know how great of an actor Daniel Kaluuya is. I'm not too familiar with Keke Palmer's work, but from the little I've seen of her in the trailer, I'm on board. I think she looks like she's going to be great. And Stephen Yeun, of course. My first introduction to Stephen Yeun was in The Walking Dead. I thought he was fantastic in that. And he's an incredible actor. And of course, the man behind it all, Jordan Peele. He is one of my favorite directors currently working in Hollywood right now. I enjoyed Us a lot more than most people, I think. A lot of people, like, for example, I actually talked about Us with somebody the other day, and they raise a good point. Like, they acknowledge the film is well directed, the acting is superb, but the story seems to be where the issue lies. And you know what? I do agree. Not to get off topic here, but you have these doppelgangers, essentially, of people living above ground, but you have these doppelgangers all living below in like a subway, and it's just not really explained. It's just like, oh, they live there, except that, and they eat bunnies. So it didn't entirely make sense. So I can understand why people have an issue with that. But besides the point, I am incredibly excited for this, and I think that final trailer really kind of showcases the potential of how this film can be, because it looks like it's going to have, obviously, horror, suspense, thrills, and a little bit of comedy. Like I mentioned, this trailer took a little bit of a different approach. We see that Keke Palmer's character in the trailer is like, we're going to get the money shot, right? Like, we're going to catch this UFO. So they're not really taking it serious. And then I assume what will probably happen in the film is like, they're trying to almost bait this UFO to approach them so they could catch it on camera. And then things start to go wrong. People probably die. And what seems to be the biggest mystery left is what is going on with this parallel of the horses and the UFO. And I think we may have an answer to that. I think the answer to that is horses are going to be sort of like the priority of this UFO. And I think the UFO is going to suck up these horses into the sky and turn them almost to like humans almost, or some kind of creature, because they showed this shot once again in the final trailer, but it was also in the first trailer. It seems to show a baby's hand getting ready to give a fist pump to this almost like crossbreed between a horse's hoof, I think it's called, and then a human's hand. So I think, I know, that to me is the biggest mystery left in this film. We see horses are advertised a lot. They're obviously a key aspect of the story. So that I'm curious to see. Now, with Jordan Peele's films, I mean, he's only directed 2, but with Us and Get Out, there has always been a twist at the end, or at least in like the middle of the second act or the third act. Will there be another twist like that in this film, or is the plot as straightforward as it's being advertised? I think there will be some kind of, plot twist, and I think it will very much have to do with what I was just explaining with the horses. So let me know what you guys think. Are you excited for Us? Have you checked out the newest final trailer for the film? I think it comes out either the end of this month or the beginning of July. Either way, I'm going to be there opening night, and I'm super fucking excited. Let me know how you guys feel about the trailer. So yesterday I saw Top Gun Maverick. I'm a little bit late to the party. Obviously the word of mouth for this film has just been going crazy. And I'll be entirely honest, once this film was approaching and, people were getting ready to see it, and there was, some buzz from film festivals like Cannes, I think it's called, from, I think that one's in Paris. Anyways, besides the point. There was a lot of excitement around the film, and I feel like I was one of the few people that wasn't entirely interested in it. Nothing to do with Tom Cruise, nothing to do with anybody involved in the film. It just didn't really look like my cup of tea. I also haven't seen the first film, but finally, I've had enough people tell me how amazing it is. So yesterday, I finally sat down in the theater to watch it, and before I get into my thoughts, let me just talk about the reach and kind of touch upon the word of mouth again, because, I thought like, word of mouth, people are, I mostly thought it was something to do with the online community, just kind of buzzing about it. But to provide context, I think this film has been out for about a month now. Usually after the first 2 weeks, or even the first week, the hype and everything kind of like dies down, but this film has been roaring in the box office, and people are still going to see it. Like I said, to provide context, when I saw the film yesterday, I was barely able to get a decent seat because the entire theater was full, and I was like, holy shit, people still want to see this movie. So that's a testament to how, successful Tom Cruise is, from a marketing perspective, because when I sat down to watch the film, we were actually presented with obviously not a live message, but a pre-recorded message from Tom Cruise basically thanking us for, taking our time to come to the theater, watch the film. So he's obviously very passionate about it. I imagine he probably was, a producer on this film as well, because I know he's a producer for a lot of his other films, like the Mission Impossible films. So, hats off to them for creating, obviously, a wonderful film that a lot of people seem to love. And overall, my general thoughts, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a solid film. I don't know if I would say it's like one of the best films I've seen this year, but I certainly enjoyed it. I had a good time. It picks up right from the beginning. Tom Cruise is in some fucking jet, and he almost goes to space. He literally touches the upper atmosphere. And I'm not going to get into spoilers, but I thought it was really good. Now, as I mentioned, I have not seen the first film. And for some of the emotional beats, for some of the emotional scenes, sorry about that, they certainly were, I'm not going to lie, there was a couple scenes in particular I did sort of choke up to, but a lot of the emotional scenes of the film very much had to do with if you had seen the first film, because there's other characters from the first film that often get, referred to and whatnot. And if I had seen the first film, I feel like I might have connected with those scenes a little bit more. I might have felt the weight of those scenes a little bit more. But, aside from that, I mean, I had no problem with the performances. I've talked about Miles Teller a lot recently on, this is his year. He's, if you haven't seen The Offer, go check out The Offer. Love that little mini series, but he's a great actor, and he's definitely one of my favorite parts of this film. I think his chemistry between him and Tom Cruise. Now, what I'm about to say is not a spoiler. It's been advertised already in the trailers, but Miles Teller's character, he goes by the call sign of Rooster, and he's the son of Goose, who was, I believe, Tom Cruise's wingman in the first film. So him and Tom Cruise's dad had a really good relationship, but he passed away in the first film. He died by, I assume, some kind of accident. I tried to watch the film. I tried to watch the first Top Gun before I had seen the film, but it was kind of, so I'll kind of explain how I even saw the film yesterday. I was going to go see it at night, but what happened was I drove all the way to the town that I saw the film in. I originally drove all the way there to actually play basketball. And what happened was I got there and the sun was out, the sun was shining, the weather was fine, but as soon as I got there, it started pouring rain. And I was like, well, I just wasted, basically a full tank of gas, and I left around 5 o'clock, so there was rush hour. So I was like, I don't want to entirely waste my time being here. What can I do right now? And then I looked at the time. I looked at Cineplex, which is the theater chain in Canada, and I said, okay, Top Gun's in 20 minutes. I know I wanted to see it later, but I'm here now. Might as well. So I don't even know why I explained that, but yeah. So that's when I saw it, and I was surprised. I don't think the film, was as, I don't think it's the masterpiece that a lot of people are describing it to be, but it's still it's a great film. It's a solid film, and I really enjoyed it. Let me know if you guys have seen it. If any of you have seen the first film, maybe you'll enjoy the second one more than I did. I had quite a few people tell me, I asked them that, I said, hey, I haven't seen the first film. Is it going to be a big deal that I go into the second film without seeing it? And they're like, nah, it's not a big deal. They'll catch up to speed pretty quick. And to be fair, they do try to, literally a big paragraph you're presented with at the opening of the film, kind of explaining what the whole Top Gun Navy program is. So they definitely make the effort, but yeah, just to kind of sum up my thoughts, I thought it was a great film, entertaining, and you absolutely have to see it on the big screen. The sound system, when the jets are flying, you feel your seat shaking. Fuck going to the fucking D-Box film. You don't need that if you're seeing Top Gun Maverick. You feel the sound system in your legs, in your chest. When those F-18s or F-14s, whatever the fuck they're called, I'm not very knowledgeable on, whatever planes and stuff. When they're roaring through the sky, you feel like you're there. So anyways, wrap up my thoughts. I thought it was great. Let me know what you guys think about the film. If you've seen it, did you enjoy it? Did you not? Let me know why in the comments below. So I don't know if you guys could hear my phone going off earlier, but it was actually my dad texting me, telling me how he's super excited for the new Predator film called Prey. And I thought, fuck it wasn't on my notes, but let's talk about it. So thanks, Dad, if you're watching this. You gave me a little headliner idea. But yeah, I actually saw, I didn't plan on talking about it, but fuck it, why not? That movie Prey looks really, really good. Now it's going straight to Hulu, and in Canada we don't have Hulu, but Disney owns Hulu, so I imagine it'll probably come out to Disney Plus. But yeah, that film looks really good. Now the last Predator film I think had Adrian Brody. Oh no, that was the one before. The last one had I can't remember the guy's name, but he's like Jordan Peele's best friend. He did all those comedy skits with him on Comedy Central. I can't remember his name, but he's a funny guy. And it also had the guy from Narcos, from the first season of Narcos. I can't remember the actor's name, but that one wasn't very good. Pretty forgettable, not terrible, but I watched it once and I didn't ever feel the need to revisit it. But the one before that, the one with Adrian Brody and a couple other actors and actresses, that one actually wasn't that bad. But regardless, bottom line, the Predator franchise has not been very successful in quite a long time. I'd say probably since the Alien vs. Predator films from back in the early 2000s. I'm talking like that's make it sound like it's like eons ago, but yeah. So we've been due for a good quality Predator film for a long time, and I like the premise of this. It's people, it's First Nations people, and they're encountering this creature, right, from way back in time, and obviously back then they didn't have the weaponry that we have today. It was just bow and arrows and other things of that nature. So I think that sounds incredible, and the trailer really kind of sparked my interest. I was already kind of curious, but once I saw that new Prey, is what the film's called, and there's that shot of that girl getting chased by the grizzly bear, and she's about to get torn apart by the grizzly bear, and she almost gets saved by the predator. And what we often see in a lot of these Predator films is, while the predators are obviously very dangerous beings, and they live to hunt, I think is the tagline that they use in in the trailer, that's quite literally like they live to hunt, but always towards the end of the film, the predator always kind of gains respect for one of these characters that we see in the film. And I think it's pretty obvious that this young girl, being the protagonist of the film, she's going to be probably the one that she'll probably end up like teaming up with him or something by the end of the film. Who knows? But let me know if you've seen the new Prey trailer. But wanted to quickly talk about that. Let's move into the next film on our list here. We have a Thunderbolts Marvel movie coming out. Now, for those of you that are like, Thunder what? So the Thunderbolts, in a nutshell, are essentially Marvel's version of the Suicide Squad, but very different. There's no like, I mean, I guess there is kind of an Amanda Waller character with the character Valentina. I forget her name. I have it on my list here. What's her name? Where is it here? Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. That character, I guess, is the Marvel's version of Amanda Waller, but probably not as extreme. And we've seen her in Falcon and Winter Soldier and Black Widow. So it actually, I'm not very surprised that this film is coming. I think it was just a matter of time. Now, before William Hurt unfortunately passed away, rest in peace, a lot of people were drawing the conclusion that he was going to be Red Hulk, and I think they were laying the seeds for even him to be Red Hulk all the way back from The Incredible Hulk, the one MCU film that a lot of people don't want to acknowledge is an MCU film, but it indeed is. So they've been laying the seeds for a Thunderbolt film for quite literally years. And it's official. We are getting it. Deadline has reported it. Now, if Deadline or Variety reports it, it's as good as confirmed. You know what I mean? We could say it's not officially confirmed because it didn't come from Marvel or Kevin Feige. But like I said, if Marvel or if a Variety or Deadline reports it, you can take it to the bank. So I'm going to read a little quote or a couple quotes from the article. This comes from Justin Kroll from Deadline. And he says, I quote, Marvel's top secret Thunderbolts movie looks to have gained momentum as Deadline has learned that Jake Schreier is set as director of the new Marvel Temple. Black Widow scribe Eric Pearson is penning the script with Marvel Studios president, of course, Kevin Feige, producing. And then for those of you who are probably wondering who Jake Schreier is, don't worry. That was my reaction too. The article went on to actually, mention a little bit of his work. So Jake Schreier, who cut his teeth directing Kanye West and Kendrick Lamar music videos, broke onto the scene with his 2013 Sundance Darling, Robot, and Frank. He also directed 2015's Paper Towns, recently wrapped production on the A24 and Netflix series Beef, and has directed episodes of FX's Dave. He is repped by CAA, Grandview, and Sloan Offer. And apparently his pitch, that's the end quote, by the way, and apparently his pitch for this film apparently blew the guys at Marvel away. So a lot of people could probably panic, and I've heard a couple people say, like, Jake who? If any of you know who the Broadcast Boys are, shout out to them. I like watching their little YouTube shorts when they'll go through, like, 76ers of the draft picks from 76er draft picks of 2003, for example. And if they come across somebody that nobody really knows, they'll be like, who? Anyways, not to get distracted, but what was I saying here? I just distracted myself. Yeah, Jake Schreier. So a lot of people, I've already been hearing people say, like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, he's directed music videos, blah, blah, blah. Like, Marvel has a great eye for talent. We've seen this is like the formula for Marvel. They hire a pretty low profile director, an up and coming director who clearly has potential, and they usually blow it out of the park. I mean, look, we've seen that with the Russo brothers. They went on to direct, Winter Soldier, Civil War, Endgame, Infinity War, and then of course, most recently James Gunn, who at that time directed, I think it was I can't even remember the names of his films, but he only did like 2 films that were like a couple $1 million budget films, pretty low level. But Kevin Feige's always said a good storyteller is a good storyteller, and can't let finances and things of that nature define who a good storyteller is. You can find a homeless guy on the street who can tell a good story. So yeah, Marvel, and specifically Kevin Feige, Louis D'Esposito, I think, is the other kind of top Marvel guy. They know what they're doing. So I completely trust Jake Schreier. I don't really know his work very well. I have seen Paper Towns, however. That was a fine film. But I'm confident that this film can be good. Now, I want to read another quote about the potential roster we could be seeing with this Thunderbolt film. And the quote said, is from the same article. That said, some of the characters who could potentially be appearing in the film, I can't read today, include Baron Zemo, Yelena Belova, Ghost, Taskmaster, the Abomination, U.S. Agent, and the Winter Soldier. General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross is also a possibility since he is the person in the comics who assembled the first team, hence the name. But that is unconfirmed as no deal for any actor has been closed. Now, of course, I'm sure, Justin Kroll, the writer of this article, I'm sure he obviously knows that, Thaddeus Thunderbolt is, the actor is obviously, passed away. However, they could recast the character. I think this is a little bit different from the, Chadwick Boseman situation. Black Panther had his own, Chadwick Boseman played the character he probably had more screen time, and he also had his entire own film devoted to his character. So that situation's a little bit different. I think they, as much as I enjoyed William Hurt's take on Thunderbolt Ross, I do think they could recast the character if they wanted to. If they decided to not go on that route, I'd be perfectly fine with it. But yeah, let's go over this list again of potential members. So we got Baron Zemo, Yelena Belova, Ghost, Taskmaster, the Abomination, U.S. Agent. Okay, no problems. The only two people I might object to is Taskmaster and Ghost. Ghost was from Ant-Man and the Wasp. I did not ever think I'd be seeing that character again. I imagine we could also get some more members as well. I am quite honestly surprised to see Winter Soldier on here because Winter Soldier is... Well, actually, I am and I'm not. Because in a way, he almost owes a debt to the government for letting him essentially be a free man after all the crimes he committed. However, he was brainwashed. I mean, we all know the story. So I'm a little bit surprised, but I'm also not that he's on this list. But the thing about Ghost and Taskmaster is I found their characters, specifically Taskmaster, to be very underwhelming and extremely forgettable. And the thing about Taskmaster is the trailers advertised her character to be quite a badass, and I was enjoying her up until the reveal of who her character is, and I just feel like we didn't get enough development of the character behind the mask. Like, it made sense once we saw it, but it was like, come on, like, yeah. So overall, I think this could be a solid entry, and it only makes sense. They've been building towards this. Many of these characters, as I've mentioned, that are on this report, this article here, we've seen them in the MCU. Baron Zemo, Civil War, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Elena Belova. She was in Hawkeye recently, and she was, of course, in Black Widow. Taskmaster, Abomination. That one really excites me. He's starting to make his resurgence back in the MCU, right? He's going to be in She-Hulk. He was briefly in Shang-Chi. And I love Tim Roth as an actor. I think he's an incredible performer. I love him in all the Tarantino films that he's been in. And, I didn't mind U.S. Agent. I didn't mind... I like the actor that plays U.S. Agent. He was in 22 Jump Street, and he was also in a Black Mirror episode. Check that episode if you guys haven't seen it. I think he volunteers to be to try out this game for a company. It's like this form of VR, and it goes really bad. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Are you excited for a Thunderbolts film? If not, let me know. Let me know why in the comments. And let's move on to the next headline. Now, the next headliner here is Spider-Man No Way Home is getting an extended cut theatrical re-release, and I believe in September. Now, before I get into my general thoughts, we're going to read a little article here, a little quote from an article to further describe this. So this comes from Richard Nebens from The Direct. Quote, the announcement was made via video by Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire. Joking around here before confirming that the movie would make its way back to theaters in the United States and Canada on Friday, September 2nd, the start of Labor Day weekend. This extended cut is being advertised as the more fun stuff version and will include never-before-seen footage from the MCU threequel, as was rumored in Friday. And then they go on to say, noted insider Amit Chitauri, I hope I pronounced that right, shared the names of 5 deleted scenes that Sony plans to include in this cut, mentioning that the studio was saving these and more to cross $2 billion at the box office. These scenes will add over 15 minutes to the theatrical cut's 148-minute runtime. So here's a list of the 5 scenes that are going to be in this extended cut. First is the interrogation extended, which will be 2 minutes and 25 seconds long. Then the next scene is titled as Peter's Day at Midtown High, which will be 5 minutes and 25 seconds long. The next is Undercroft montage, which is a minute and a half, basically, minute and 35 seconds. Then Happy's Very Good Lawyer, another minute and a half, which I assume will be another extended look at Matt Murdock. And then the final one, the Spidey's Hangout, rather, which will be 4 minutes and 25 seconds long. Okay, so that was a mouthful. Let me give you my thoughts. If that's it, if that's all that they're adding, I don't think this is worth it. And I kind of look at this as a little bit of a cash grab. Because look, the thing is, like, we're getting another basically 4.5 minutes of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield hanging out with Tom Holland. The thing about that is that whole emotional high in that big boost of serotonin that we got when we were not only waiting to see that happen, but when we finally saw that happen, I feel like that excitement has come and gone, right? It'll be good to see them again for some more footage, but I think people would be more excited to hear about a future project that they'll be in rather than just seeing recycled footage of them in No Way Home, because we already got that. It'll be different scenes, but if it's just more footage of them just kind of chopping it up, talking about their web shooters and whatever, like, I don't really think people are going to get... Okay, actually, that's wrong. There will be people will get very excited for that. But specifically for me, just speaking for myself, that doesn't get me very excited. Like, if these are the five scenes that we're getting, and that's it, then it doesn't really seem like it's worth it to go back and see it. I'll just wait for that extended cut to go to whatever, streaming or something. Now, if there's scenes that they haven't mentioned that we could be seeing, like maybe we see Venom, maybe we see Mysterio, maybe we see, I don't know, more footage from the original, whatever, like more footage of like Willem Dafoe as a Green Goblin, because apparently there was supposed to be a fight, the bridge scene where we see Doc Ock and Peter, Tom Holland's Peter, going at it. There was also an extended concept of that fight scene that also included Green Goblin, because of course we see in the film Green Goblin shows up, but then they cut to the Undercroft. So apparently that scene was supposed to continue with Tom Holland fighting Green Goblin. So if we got more scenes like that, because we saw Tom Hardy in it, who was basically wasted. He joined the MCU for 5 seconds or whatever, and then left. He got like a history lesson on who Iron Man is, and then dipped back to the Sony universe. So if we actually saw him, which they apparently did film more scenes with him, if we saw him as Venom, interacting, maybe even fighting against the other Spider-Man, or helping the other Spider-Man fight the OG villains, that I would pay money to go see, right? But if it's just like recycled footage, like even the Happy's Very Good Lawyer thing with Matt Murdock, like same thing. Like, it was widely speculated, is that whatever? Hopefully I pronounced that right. There's a lot of speculation that Matt Murdock, Daredevil, Charlie Cox's version of Daredevil, was going to be in No Way Home. And then once we got that, it was awesome, but then we got it. And then the hype kind of died down and we moved on. And now we're looking forward to seeing him in his new Disney Plus series that will be coming. So to just see more footage of him talking to Happy, like, it'll be cool to watch. Like, don't get me wrong, all this stuff, like, I'm sure I'll enjoy it, of course, but it's just, it's almost like, come on, like, the film came out, it's over and done with, let's just move on and look forward to the next Spider-Man film. To re-release it with 15 minutes of footage, like, I don't know. I don't know about that. And apparently they're going to also touch up on the visual effects, because let's actually talk about that for a sec. Because this really bothered me. I'll just be I'm always honest on here, but I'll just give my blunt opinion. The visual effects for specifically Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man suit were fucking terrible. They were not good. I saw comparisons, screen grab comparisons of a scene from Spider-Man 3, which was over 10 years ago at this point, 2007, I think. And obviously No Way Home, Tobey Maguire's version of Spider-Man. And like the visual effects from 2007 look way better than they did in No Way Home, which is a film that had like a $200 million budget. Did it have something to do with time? Like, did they not have enough time to work on the visual effects? Like, I got no idea, but I was really disappointed with that. And they even had to touch up some of the visual effects with Andrew when he first came in on screen. They did a little bit something there. Like, overall, the visual effects in the film were pretty good. They were solid. It was just some scenes with Tobey Maguire, he looked like an animated character. He didn't look real at all. Specifically, when he sees Doc Ock again and he takes off his mask, you could just tell that's not real. It just looks fake. And it just looks like CG. So, yeah, I guess making the visual effects better would be nice, because I don't know why they weren't up to Marvel, because Marvel's been known for their visual effects. They've been nominated for Oscar awards for their visual effects. That's why I was kind of pissed off, and it kind of disappointed me when I saw. Now, not the entire film, as I just want to keep reiterating that. It was more or less just Tobey's scenes when he was suited up as Spider-Man. Those visual effects were awful. So I was kind of disappointed to see that. I didn't really expect that. So I guess with this cut of the film, they'll be improved upon. To what degree, I don't know. But it's not coming up till September. So I assume they'll have time to really kind of go back in the editing room and make those changes. But let me know what you guys think. Are you excited for this? I don't want to sound negative. I don't like to be negative on this podcast. But I just feel like I have no issues with, films being re-released. But the purpose of them re-releasing this is to advertise more footage. And what I'm saying is like, it's pretty much just footage from scenes that we've already seen. Like, for example, the Undercroft montage. What are we just going to see Peter and MJ and Ned, just talk more about how cool it is to be hanging out around Doctor Strange, like, and the interrogation scene? Are we just going to see Peter sit there and continue to explain, like, it wasn't me, it was the drones? And then Peter at Midtown High, are we just going to see him walking down the halls with all the eyes on him more? Like, unless we're going to see other, like, characters that deserve more screen time, like Tom Hardy's Venom, and to be honest, I'm not holding my breath for that. I don't think that's going to happen. So that's why for me, I'm just like, I don't know. It just kind of, I don't know. I'll probably just check it out when it goes to streaming. But anyways, I don't want to sound all negative. Let me know what you guys think. Are you excited for this? Do you want to kind of ride on that emotional high again one last time for No Way Home? Let me know in the comments below. Now, to conclude this podcast today, I thought it would be fun to look at one of my favorite directors in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino. This guy has obviously dominated this industry for decades now. And a lot of people are kind of speculating on what could be his next and, apparently his final film to complete his career. Because apparently he's saying like he doesn't want to make, he only wants to make one more film. So I'm going to rank all 10 films he's directed from the worst to the best. And I know a lot of you are probably going to watch this and disagree. And if you do, let's have a conversation about it in the comments. But let's run through it. Starting at number 10, we have Death Proof. I didn't hate this film. Let me just, before I continue, all of these films, to some, to one degree or another, I enjoy them, right? Just some more than others. But none of these are bad films by any means. But some are just, like I said, exceed in certain areas where some of these other films in those same areas, they didn't elevate or succeed as much, right? So anyways, this is obviously my opinion, but number 10, Death Proof. Number 9, Kill Bill Volume 2. Number 8, Jackie Brown. Now, I will say with Jackie Brown, the first time I watched it, it felt very kind of underwhelming. I was like, not much is really happening with this film. It just feels very kind of inconsequential. But what made me kind of rethink my position on it is actually after I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is another film that he did. And I realized like that's another film that doesn't really have, in terms of action and glamour and popped and, shockingness, whatever you want to call it. There's not as much in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but what it does, it ties everything together in the end, which is why Quentin Tarantino is one of the best storytellers around. And Jackie Brown, to a lesser degree, does that kind of same thing. It sets the stage. So Jackie Brown's been growing on me through the years. It used to be my least favorite Quentin Tarantino film, but it's definitely moved up the ladder a little bit. But anyways, number 7, Kill Bill. The thing about Kill Bill is, I love Uma Thurman. I think she's an incredible actress. There's just something about, I really like the first film, but Kill Bill Volume 2 it didn't entirely work for me, from a storytelling perspective. I enjoyed the film overall. It was entertaining, but I don't know. Yeah. But anyways, number 7, Kill Bill. Number 6, Hateful Eight. Now, Hateful Eight is another film that it's certainly been growing on me over these years. I don't hate it by any means, no pun intended. I don't know. I think the film, like, from a storytelling perspective, it does a great job. We have, obviously, Kurt Russell's character. He's escorting his bounty. And this girl who he's escorting is obviously a terrible human being. She's racist. And so the story ties everything together with her brother and his gang that are trying to, get her, capture her and free her from Kurt Russell and Samuel L. Jackson's character. And it all just kind of comes together when they're all at that cabin. So the film just felt a little bit too long, dragged a little bit at times. I know some people will disagree with that, but anyways, cracking into the top 5. Here we go. Now, this was hard. But before I continue, I actually want to say, with all 5 of these next Tarantino films, which I'm sure a lot of you probably will know which ones they are, I love all these films. I really do love them. But this was a tough list to make in terms of the final 5. But here we go. Number 5, Inglourious Bastard. The thing for me about this film that kind of holds it back at times is when we revisit the character we were introduced from the beginning of the film, the only girl that escaped from her family when obviously Christoph Waltz and his Nazis were shooting and killing them all. She was the only one that escaped and she fled to Paris. When we return to that character, when she's in Paris and, she's living on her own and she runs this movie theater and whatnot. Like, I understand it was necessary to revisit her for the story, but that part of the film, I feel, is the weakest and probably least entertaining part of the film. So it's a nitpick because even then, there were some elements that I enjoy, like the scene when she's in the cafe and she's being pestered by the Nazi who's getting his film, Nation's Pride, and he just like won't leave her alone, and she's just telling him she's politely saying like, fuck off, I'm not interested. So, but overall, I love the film. So that's number 5. Number 4, Django. Now, Django's 4th on this list, but if I were to make a category of the most entertaining, right? The most, whatever, gripping, edge of my seat Tarantino film, it would definitely be Django. Django is probably the most entertaining Tarantino film that he's done. It'd probably be almost a tie between that and Inglourious Bastards. But anyway, so Django, number 4. I love Christoph Waltz. I love Jamie Foxx. And it's obviously, everybody's seen Django. It's amazing. But moving on, number 3. This is where I know I'm going to get a lot of people that are going to, shake their heads at me. And this was tough, and I'm going to explain. Pulp Fiction. Now, for a while, Pulp Fiction was my number 1 favorite Tarantino film. And it's really hard to even explain why it's not number 1. It really just comes down to my opinion. It doesn't make the film any better or any worse. But it's almost like blasphemy to say that, because a lot of people will often say that Pulp Fiction is his best film. And, I could understand that, but it really just comes down to me and my opinion and the way I feel about these other 2 films. They just hit me a little bit different, but I love Pulp Fiction. Don't get me wrong. It's incredible. You got Uma Thurman, Samuel L. Jackson, obviously John Travolta. I still think that's probably one of my favorite performances that he did. a lot of reoccurring Tarantino actors that you see. And who's the guy from the Mission Impossible films? Who's like Tom Cruise's right-hand man? He plays like the crime boss in this film. That him and Bruce Willis are going at it towards the end of the film. He's a good actor. I feel like his name starts with a V. I can't entirely remember, but anyways. It's a great film. There's just something about these other two films on this list, these other two Tarantino films, that for some reason I can't say that Pulp Fiction is better than these two. And the second one, number 2 on this list, is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This movie, it's one of the best films I have seen in the last 10 years. I think it takes Tarantino's storytelling, his famous storytelling formula that we've seen when we see different perspectives from different characters. He very much has a non-linear form of storytelling, which is great because it leaves the audience asking questions, wondering how is this all going to make sense? And it always comes together at the end in a magnificent, entertaining, beautiful way. And I think that was on full display as best as any other films in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So that's number 2. Number one on this list is Reservoir Dogs. I don't know why. I think this was Tarantino's first film he ever directed, if I'm not mistaken. I fucking love this movie. It's just... You could tell it's obviously a low budget film. For the most part, it takes place in one location, aside from when they show the scenes when they're providing context of how they got there, and they show the police chase scenes and the gunfight scenes and whatever. But it takes place pretty much in one location, and it all comes down to not only the performances from like Steve Buscemi, and I can't remember the other actor's name, and then you have Tim Roth, and then you have lots of, like I said, lots of familiar Tarantino actors that he's had in many of his other films. But what really shines in this film is the writing. Because if you're going to have a film like Reservoir Dogs, where it takes place pretty much in one location, you're going to have to depend on a good script. I mean, every film needs a good script, obviously. But you really need a good script if you're going to solely rely on just dialogue and banter and conversation between one character to another. And this is a masterclass of filmmaking, and it was his first film. I think it was only made for like 3 or 4 million bucks. And there's even been rumors that his final film, Tarantino's final film, he's expressed that he'd be interested in possibly remaking Reservoir Dogs. What a way to kind of wrap up his career, concluding with his final film being a remake of the first film that he did. I think that would be amazing, and I would be all on board. I'd also be on board for like a Kill Bill Volume 3, because he's talked about that, because obviously Uma Thurman's daughter, she's also a very good actress, and she's a lot older now. I think she's in Stranger Things and a couple other films. She was in that film with Andrew Garfield that I didn't mind. I think it was called, I can't remember, Mainstream, I think it was called, and she wasn't bad in that. So there's even been reports and rumors that he would have a third film in that franchise with not only Uma Thurman returning but her daughter in it as well. They could kind of like tag team and be assassins together and whatnot. So that'd be interesting. But that's my list, everybody. I know a lot of you are going to be like, some of you will maybe agree with me in certain areas. Other people are probably going to be like, what kind of fucking list is this? It's just my list, guys. Just my opinion. But I want to know what your list is below. I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, none of these films are bad. All of these films are either good to amazing. So that's pretty much how I look at it. But just to run through one more time, I'll quickly run through the list. So number 10, Death Proof. Number 9, Kill Bill Volume 2. Number 8, Jackie Brown. Number 7, Kill Bill. Number 6, Hateful Eight. Number 5, Inglourious Bastards. Number 4, Django. Number 3, Pulp Fiction. Number 2, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Number 1, Reservoir Dogs. Anyways, guys, that is going to wrap up episode 30. My goodness, we are 30 episodes in. It's been a crazy ride, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. Lots of podcasts coming in the future. It's been a fun journey with Unbashful. but we haven't even broke through the ceiling, and I'm excited for the future to come. If you stay for this long, thank you very much for watching. Little, whatever housekeeping, if you want to call it. If you can't watch this podcast, you can listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, the whole 9 yards, whatever audio streaming platform you listen to, you can find the show and all of its glory on there. Anyways, guys, I wish you good health, happiness, and everything in between. Have a great day.